guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is a part 2 to a video I did a few weeks ago where I talked about the differences between the Interview with the Vampire TV show and the book series. I did one of these videos last week for Vampire Academy, and since December is coming up, which means Christmas, and I want to do Christmassy style stuff for December, I thought I would do this video this week because otherwise it might have to wait till January, and that's a month from now, and the show just ended, so I thought, why not? Hey, I love both of these shows, so why not do a video back to back? If you're into this content, look at that, you get 2 in a row! So here is the differences between the Interview with the Vampire TV show and book series, the second half. The first video, I believe I did the first 4 or 5 episodes. This episode I'll be talking more about the last half of the episodes, but there's a few points that I'm going to be talking about that kind of go throughout the whole show. So let's get into it. One fact throughout the entire TV show, since Claudia was introduced, is that she's an avid journal writer. And that is where Daniel is getting a lot of his information. Louis gave the journals to Daniel so he could read through them and get information that he might not have gotten from Louis himself, a point of view of Claudia, since Claudia isn't there to tell her side of the story. And that is a big point throughout the entire season, that she's always writing in her journals, whether it be a kill list or what happened that day or horrible things that may have happened to her that Louis ripped pages out for, but she's an avid journal writer. In the book series, however, she does not write. She is stuck in a 6-year-old body with the mind of an adult because she keeps aging mentally but not physically, which is so sad. I mean, in the show she's stuck at like 14. In the books she's stuck at 6. That would be so much worse. Oh my god. A storyline within the TV show is that Claudia tries to turn another. She is caught with a bunch of bite marks on her wrist as she tried to turn others, boys her age, so that she wouldn't be alone. Louis and Lestat have one another, but Claudia is the third wheel. You know, she feels out of place. She just wants someone to love her as much as they love one another, even if it's toxic. She just wants someone, so she consistently tries to turn them and fails, and is caught. And all she wants is her own Louis or her own Lestat. It's all she wants. And she can't get it right. She just can't turn another. In the book, that doesn't happen. Claudia is only in book 1. So there isn't a lot of Claudia within the book series of the Vampire Chronicles. But she doesn't really try to turn anyone else. She does try to get Louis to turn a woman named Madeline so that she does have a companion. So that does kind of happen, where she wants her own companion because she believes Louis is going to leave her for Armand. But it doesn't happen where she tries to turn them herself. She tries to get someone else to do it for her. In the TV show, Louis is basically her father and brother at the same time. Later on in the show, they act more like siblings rather than him being her dad. And Claudia runs away and stays out of their lives for 7 whole years, exploring, killing college kids, not having the greatest of time with another vampire. He can die in a hall of fire. But she travels and, tries to grow into herself without being with them. And eventually she does come back, and then a lot of drama ensues. But she does take 7 years to just be by herself, so she can become her own person without having to be with them. In the book series, she never leaves their side. She is always by Louis. And in the book series, he's technically her father, and they share a coffin, but there's some sexual tension there from Claudia to Louis, which is, she's 6, so that's a little gross. But in the show, it doesn't really happen. She never leaves. She's always with Louis until the very end. When Claudia does return, Louis thinks of leaving Lestat for Claudia because he really enjoys Claudia's company. It's not toxic like it is with Lestat and Louis, and Lestat loses his temper. They get in a ginormous fight, destroying the entire house. Lestat beating the living shit out of Louis before biting him and then flying up into the sky saying, "What? Just tell me you don't love me," which is very deep. Honestly, that whole scene, I'm like, wow. And then he drops Louis like hundreds of feet to the ground. It reminds me a lot of the movie where Lestat bites Louis for the first time and they fly up into the sky and he drops Louis into the water. It's very similar vibes to that scene. I believe that is not in the book either. That is just for the movie, but it reminds me a lot of that movie scene. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's what it reminded me of. That entire fight doesn't happen because Claudia never leaves in the book. Of course, they do get into their squabbles, but nothing like that. That was totally like an inspiration from the movie, in my opinion. After this fight, Louis and Lestat break up. Louis and Claudia live on their own for 6 years, while Lestat constantly brings gifts, books, cars, music. He brings gifts to try and win Louis back. Eventually, he writes a song with his lover's voice on it, and it pisses Louis off to the point that he goes to Lestat, and instead of being really angry, they have angry sex. So there's that. And they get back together, and Lestat says he's trying and that he will kill Antoinette, which we all know where that went. He didn't. But there's a 6-year gap where they are not together, where Lestat actually gives Louis his space rather than just saying, "I'm not leaving." He actually, Louis and Claudia live by themselves for 6 years without Lestat. I mean, he constantly shows up trying to give them gifts, but he isn't with them 100% of the time, which never happens. In the book, that doesn't happen at all. So in the show, there's a character called Antoinette that Lestat has flings with from time to time, and basically his second lover. She does not exist in the books whatsoever, but he tells Louis and Claudia that he's killed her, which he doesn't. Eventually, he turns her into a vampire and uses her as a spy. Claudia plans this entire party to kill Lestat. They have this giant party, they invite a few special guests back to their home, and then they have a feeding fest. And the point was to poison Lestat and kill him. And at the very end, she poisoned one of the twins and was going to have him feed on the twin. But Antoinette comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh, I knew," because he had ears. Antoinette was listening to everything they were saying. And so he believes that he's duped to them. They try to force Claudia to drink from the twin, and he believes he's on top. But he's not. He believes that he has succeeded in finding out their plot. However, Claudia thought ahead and poisoned someone else. In the books, that doesn't happen. They do plan to kill Lestat, and they do poison a set of twins with some high-end medicine that kills them, and when you drink dead man's blood, that's not good. You're not supposed to do that. So they poisoned Lestat, slit his throat, left him to die, bleed out, and then they throw him in a swamp. That is what happens in the book. However, in the show, it happens a little differently. They poison him with someone else. They shank Antoinette into the ground, slit Lestat's throat, and instead of throwing him into the swamp thinking they killed him, they know for a fact he's not dead, and Louis cannot bring himself to kill Lestat, so they put him in a trunk and let him get taken by the garbage man when he knows fully well that Lestat is not dead. He knows. They burn Antoinette in an oven, so she's gone. But Lestat, it is proven that he is alive, and Louis claims originally that they both just ran out of there and left him, but it sounds more like Claudia wanted to murder Lestat and Louis wouldn't let her, because it's a toxic Stockholm Syndrome situation, and he loves Lestat, even though Lestat is horrible for him and is a horrible person in general. They love each other and they can't help it, and it's a problem. They really need to get that situated. Okay, but In both the book and the show, Claudia does kill, or plan to kill, Lestat. In the book, they throw him in a swamp. He does come back. It doesn't work like they wanted to, but they believe it's worked. In the show, they kill him, and Claudia wants to finish the job, and Louis won't let her. So in both instances, Lestat survives their murder attempt, just in different ways. At the very end of the final episode, it is revealed that Rashid is Armand, which, alright. I had a feeling there was something off with Rashid the entire time he was on the show, and it's like, what is he to Louis? A servant? His feeder? Are they boyfriends? Like, what's going on? And then when they revealed he was Armand, I was like, oh my god. Part of me kind of knew it might happen, but I wasn't sure. What is different is that they're together. In the book, they never get together. There is a unspoken connection between Armand and Louis. That is why Claudia fears that Louis is going to leave her for Armand. And they do travel for a while, but they never get into like an actual relationship, or it's never written down that they did. It could be implied, but it was never like, yeah, they're boyfriends. In the show, however, at the very end, they claim that Armand is Louis' the love of his life. So they are together. But the show is doing something where they're making relationships canon. Like in the book series Lestat and Louis, it was never fully confirmed that they were gay for each other. In the show, they're like, yep, they are. So I'm completely fine with this. What I do find interesting, though, is that when they reveal it's Armand, I'm like, oh my god, Armand's like 500 years old. So he's quite an old vampire, and he's letting Louis treat him like a sub. Like, throughout the entire show, Rashid, or Armand, acts like Louis' servant, does whatever he asks, delivers food, lets him feed from him, and is subdominant to Louis. Now, of course, that could be an act when Daniel's not around. It might be switched and reversed, and Armand is the dominant one. But I just thought it was quite interesting, because why would a 500-year-old vampire submit to one that's barely 100? It's interesting, even for an act. He must really like Louis if he would do that. I mean, maybe he didn't have any problem with it, but it was just an interesting thing to say, Armand's subby to Louis. It was interesting, to say the least. And that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will probably be back with this series once the show comes back on. It has been renewed for season 2, so stay tuned for that. I've actually really enjoyed this. This is something I've tried out this year, and I enjoy talking about, well, fangirling over anything. That's something I truly enjoy. And I also really like just talking about the differences between books and the TV show or the movie, because not a lot of people might know that. A lot of these media I watched before I read the books. I watched the Interview with the Vampire TV show. I watched the Vampire Academy movie. I watched a lot of media before I read the books, because I'm more of a visual person rather than a reader. I do read, obviously, but I don't read as often as I would like. I'm more of a TV show movie watcher. So I usually read the series after I've watched the media and go, oh, okay, that's what could have happened. This time around, because the show came out after I read the books, it helped in this situation because I actually had knowledge, which also helped with the Vampire Academy show because I read the books after I watched the movie, so it gave me some time. Depends. Usually I watch the media before I read the books. Sometimes it's the other way around. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like more videos like this, I am up for it. I'm actually really enjoying this. I'm having a great time. If you would like me to do this with any other type of media, please comment down below. I am really into vampire stuff. My entire bookcase behind me is filled with vampire books. So if you would like me to do like vampire movies or vampire shows, I could totally help you on that. I could try other media, but I'm not as invested in them as I am vampires. So like, we'll see. But comment down below if you have anything that you'd like me to talk about in this type of style. Alright guys, I will see you Thursday with another True Crime Thursday, and Monday with whatever I decide to post. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Woo!